Welcome to the all-new Didcot podcast, your weekly roundup of everything Didcot and beyond, with Charlie and Giselle.
Hello and welcome to the Didcot podcast with me, Giselle, and my good friend Charlie.
Hello.
And I can actually say Charlie has been a very good friend this week.
Hang on, don't sound so surprised.
I did sound a bit surprised then. While playing netball, went over on my ankle and it came up like a balloon, and I was sat at home with my leg raised in an ice pack for about 2 days, at which point I thought I really need to go to minor injuries, and I couldn't drive or anything. Kindly, Charlie came over, gave me a lift there, and it all got sorted out. Luckily, it's not broken. We'll come back to that actually, because I have a bit more to say about that. But what else are we talking about today?
I've got some really exciting infrastructure news.
Oh,
you
gosh.
love it. What did you say? Your neurons have been stimulated?
I said my neural pathways are all firing up because you've bombarded me with information this morning.
Infrastructure information. There's a really, really interesting story developing in Didcot, and It's kind of like a microcosm of what's going on in the whole of the UK, but it's to do with AI and planning and that sort of stuff. So we're going to be talking about that.
I am fascinated by AI.
It all revolves around the Reservoir in Steventon, which obviously there's a lot of opposition to. There's lots of groups and lots of petitions going on. And when you start joining the dots between what's going on in Didcot, what's going on in Abingdon, you come up with a really, really good conspiracy theory.
This is a point that we've got here that I've started to notice, is that there seems to be all these individual jigsaw pieces around Didcot, and the more you look into them, the more you realise how linked up they potentially are.
You know how I like facts?
Yeah.
I've got a fact for you.
Go.
The fact is that this week I have done the village news, and it is amazing. I've got so much news on so many villages that's so exciting. I will just point out that Giselle is in her usual position of lying almost horizontally with her hands behind her head and a microphone stuck up her nose.
That is not the correct image. That's not what's happening here.
Surrounded by cushions.
I haven't been able to do much because I've had to have my ankle up. I haven't even been able to go to work this week.
She's like a buckled wheel.
I am.
I'm having to hang around with a buckled wheel and buy her ready meals so that she can feed herself.
I've had to get in touch with daytime TV. In fact, that's another thing I really want to talk about is Adolescence, the new Netflix hit TV series. It's amazing, heart-wrenching as it is. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about that.
That programme is groundbreaking on so many different levels. It's really, really interesting. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute.
This is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know.
I know we've both moaned about the situation with doctors in Didcot recently because it is so hard to get an appointment. And every time I go on Facebook, I see someone else having a really bad experience of trying to get one. But I do want to mention that when we went to minor injuries in Abingdon, and I'd heard horror stories about that as well, where it's taken people 5 hours to be seen. We went at 10 because that's when X-ray opens, and we actually had a really good experience.
I like to think that in no small way I played my part in that, Giselle, because as you know, if I'm an expert in anything, it's getting through a hospital or getting through an airport, and I've become quite competitive, so I feel like I have played my part in that. And it all came down to the higher the pain scale, the shorter the wait, doesn't it, Giselle?
Literally was trying to get me to lie. So where it says, what is your pain threshold? Or like, how much pain are you in on a scale of 1 to 10? He was like, put it up higher, put it up higher.
Give it an 8.
I can't, that's fraud.
Always an 8, nothing less than an 8.
Not okay. But the problems with doctor surgeries continues. I actually got a letter from our local MP, Ollie Glover, yesterday talking about the plans for the one on Great Western Park, sort of saying the wheels are in motion. Well, we know that, but it's still not there. And in the meantime, plans for another nearly 300 houses on Valley Park have been approved. The first ones are due to launch in the summer. So far, there's nearly 250 there. There's going to be 4,200, around that number altogether. And while there is a £50 million investment in facilities like schools, shops, sports facilities, not seen anything about doctors' surgeries. So that's another like 4,200 houses, let's say 8,000 people, and no more doctors.
Would that be the same Valley Park where we were reading stuff about it a couple of weeks ago, where they were saying the town council had asked for special measures to be introduced to stop people moving into houses because the water infrastructure wasn't ready?
Exactly that. This takes us on to the situation with the Reservoir.
I think there's a really interesting story building here. If you don't know, Thames Water are building a massive reservoir in Steventon, just the other side of Didcot. The reason for it is the Environment Agency say that the southeast of England is the area of the country most at risk of running out of water. We also found out a few weeks ago that there's going to be a £1.9 billion data centre being built on the old power station site. We talked about that the other day, didn't we, Giselle?
I hadn't even heard of data centres before, but apparently they're massive warehouses. They've got computers, electronic storage systems. They cost more than £1 billion to build. They're just these massive, huge places for computers.
Yeah, and most importantly, obviously, the world needs lots of data centres, but they use an awful lot of water.
The reason that they use up a lot of water is because of all the heat coming out of the computers. So you've got to cool it down, yeah.
Exactly that. The warehouse is full of computers all running fast. And they use lots of water, but they use more water in the summer, like we use more water in the summer because the air temperature is hotter, so they use more water. So this week, Keir Starmer announced that we were going to get these new, what they're going to call AI growth zones. Basically, what's happening is they're going to set up these growth zones, right? But they're looking very hard at Didcot, Oxford, Cambridge, all of the science centres to be at the forefront of AI and data industries. So the first place to get one of these growth zones is going to be at Culham. The dilemma is this. They're building a massive reservoir in Steventon, okay?
Yeah.
That's designed to give water to people, okay, to houses. And in the meantime, they've announced a £1.9 billion data centre on the old power station site. And now they've designated Culham as an AI growth zone. So both of those plots are going to use enormous amounts of water. So where is that water coming from?
I actually read as well that a lot of the water from that reservoir will go down a massive pipe to supply Hampshire anyway. I just feel like none of this pieces together properly for me.
Where is that water going to go? Is it going to go to the people's houses in Didcot and the surrounding area to make sure they've got enough water to flush their toilets? Or is it going to go to the AI growth zone and the data centre?
So I'm going to try and get Thames Water and the local MP on to explain this to us.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea because I've got a few questions for them.
Oh, my
well.
gosh.
Well,
it'll be the longest interview in the world ever.
Well, a lot of data's come out this week. There's been a really good article in The Guardian this week that says that talks not only about the Thames Water debt doom loop, which is obviously for the £19 billion in debt. I read a thing recently that said they borrowed $3 billion, and out of that $3 billion, 900 million goes back into paying interest on the debt.
Jeez,
that's why they call
crazy.
it a debt doom loop. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, madness. Anyway,
why is this company still existing?
Well, what is quite interesting is some of the data has come out for how much raw sewage they're putting into our rivers at the moment. Thames Water have dumped 50% more raw sewage into our rivers since last year.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, so they're putting in 300,000 hours of raw sewage pouring into the waterways in the last year. So that's obviously absolutely horrendous. And there's a really interesting quote on this. Thames Water has admitted it's left its sewage treatment works to crumble for decades as a result of underinvestment. Its own business documents say it has sweated these assets.
What do you mean by sweated?
Well, sweated means that they've basically left them to rot and they've just kept using them until they break.
Okay.
So that's what's going on there. And this is all absolutely horrendous. It's really miserable. But the plus side of that is the fact that the bosses and the shareholders, they've all got really, really rich. I'll try not to bring this up again, but the Thames Water boss got a £200,000 bonus for his first 3 months in the job last year.
I feel like there are all these pieces of the puzzle, houses going up, a reservoir going up, data centre, AI centre, and they don't fit together for me. I don't understand how it all correlates, and that's what we need to find out.
Your weekly roundup of everything Didcot and beyond. Join Charlie and Giselle as we dive into the topics that matter.
I read quite an interesting thing this week, Giselle, about they're talking about banning mobile phones in schools around Oxford, and I'm all for it. Ban them.
It makes me very nervous because my daughter having her mobile phone on her gives me peace of mind that I can check on the app at any point where she is. I know she's in school and I know she's safe. And if you took that away, although we didn't used to have that, it would be quite scary for me. But equally, I know that they are a distraction in schools. I know they get them out in classrooms when they shouldn't. And they do need to be able to concentrate. So what's the answer?
I understand that you want to be able to check that your child has arrived at school. But when they get to school and you know that they're at school, I think their phones should be turned off until they then leave school.
Some parents like that. They want their child to feel like, I am a safe space for you. So no matter what anyone else says, if you feel really bad, you can contact me on your phone, even though that goes against school policy. So it will take away that level. And I think that is a little bit to do with trust in schools and teachers these days.
Trusting the school, yeah, I totally agree. Do you know what? School's got more control over my kids than I have because they can ban their phone. I can't ban a phone. If I ban their phone, I've tried to ban their phones and it was like World War III erupted.
So what's the reason that they're saying they want to ban the phones?
Because it's affecting their mental health.
Right, okay. I do really like the idea of that because I absolutely agree. It massively affects their mental health.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that if you spend that much time on a phone, it's going to affect your mental health. I get it myself. You get it. We all get it. We all spend too much time on our phones. I don't want to go too strong on it, but for me, my kids, they're phone addicts. They're addicts. So am I.
They are. We're all phone addicts, yeah.
They say that a child's brain isn't fully developed until they're into their 20s. So my 14-year-old and my 16-year-old being forced by the school to not be on their phone for 6 hours a day, I think is great. In fact, I would invest in that.
I've got a bit of a dilemma at the moment. My daughter, who's nearly 14, is begging me to let her watch this massive new Netflix series, Adolescence, which I have seen. Have you?
Yeah, I watched it twice.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It is so compelling and heartbreaking, and I don't know, I think I went through so many different emotions watching that.
It was amazing to watch it technically, but I found it incredibly challenging to watch it as a parent. Oh my God, I found it really, really hard, and it raised a lot of questions on how our kids interact. And, we've just been talking about mobile phones being banned. I mean, it's turning into a really important subject, this, isn't it?
It's one of those programs that I think could actually lead to changes. Do you remember the post office program? I can't remember what it was called.
Mr. Bates versus the post office.
Yeah, so that led to actual change, and it's sad in a way that we have to get a TV series to do that, but I feel like this has really heightened the issue. The acting is phenomenal. I mean, even the psychiatrist, she was amazing. But the boy,
Owen Cooper,
to think he was unknown and to be able to perform at that standard is incredible.
What people don't realise is it's not just the acting that he has to cope with, but being a young actor with no experience in a shoot like that, where you're making an hour-long single-shot series, the pressure is incredible. You kind of have to be in there and know what it's like to understand how much he had to deal with.
Imagine where his career is going to go now. I can't even begin to think how successful he could potentially be. It's going to win awards, isn't it? Because it's the acting, it's the storyline, it's the filming of it. That every aspect of a TV programme has been ticked.
It's the most viewed programme in 71 different countries on Netflix.
That's incredible. It's challenging on so many levels as a parent as well, because this is another thing. My daughter, who's nearly 14, really wants to watch it. And I feel so pulled in different directions because on some levels I think, yeah, you should watch it because I want you to understand how dangerous I think social media can be. But also it's really gritty and I don't know if it's appropriate.
Well, for me, I mean, I let my 14-year-old watch it. I've got no qualms with that. But it does raise a lot of questions for me as a parent.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. We both clearly need some advice. Get in touch with us on our Facebook page, The Didcot Podcast, or if it's a bit more personal, you can email us. It's thedidcotpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram too.
Stay connected, stay curious. Talk to us about literally anything.
Speaking of schools, the secondary school allocations came out the other week and there's been some controversy about it because some of the parents whose children live in Didcot, for example, on Lady Grove, haven't got into Didcot Girls' School, and that was their preference. And not only that, they now have to go to, one of them is John Mason in Abingdon, and I think there's some that are going to Wallingford. Now, I know they can appeal, but what shocks me about this is some of the schools have become part of the Ridgeway Education Trust, okay? That's a trust that's got DGS in it, it's got St Brynius and then some primaries. And the way they work out who gets a place at one of the secondaries now for the schools in the trust is that the children in trust primary schools get preference over children who live nearby. So you could literally live on Lady Grove, but a child who goes to Sutton Courtenay Primary School, for example, which is part of the trust, will get preference over you who lives 10 minutes away.
It's so important for a parent that their kids go to the school that they want or need, for logistic reasons or whatever. But in my experience, generally there's an awful lot of fear when people get allocated stuff. But generally over the next couple of months, things smooth out because the schools do sort out that person can go there and that person can go there. So I think there's a fair bit of shuffling after the decision has been made, and they try quite hard to put children into the school that they want to go.
Yeah, you may be right, because in previous years, I know, for example, at DGS, they created a whole new class. So a lot of the children that missed out did end up getting to go there. But think about, as a parent, the anxiety and stress that causes while you're going through that appeal process. I know a mum that went through it, and it was so tough. And if I was sat there today thinking to myself, for the next 5 years of my life, I've got to drive my child to school from Didcot to, for example, Abingdon or Wallingford every day, that is a lot of work. Can we just take a moment to pause and say a massive thank you to all the community Facebook pages like Spotted Didcot, Didcot Community, Mums in Didcot, and the millions of village pages that we've been discovering. I can't believe how many there are. They've really got behind us. People are clicking onto the links and listening, and we can't do that without the community. We really want to hear from you. You're not obviously going to agree with everything we say, but we want to hear what you think. So your opinions, your thoughts, what do you want to hear about? What do you like about Didcot? What do you hate? All of those things, please do let us know. You can use all of those community Facebook pages to speak to us, or you can go on our own Facebook or Instagram page, the Didcot Podcast, or if it's a bit more private, you can email us. It's the didcotpodcast@gmail.com.
There have been some really quite interesting developments with the podcast recently.
Go on.
Well, you're going to need to get yourself a new frock, Giselle. We've been invited to our first official function.
Oh,
you need to get your frock out.
Yeah, is it swanky?
We're going to the European Space Agency Conference Centre.
Are we going to meet lots of super clever people and have to pretend we are super clever too?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
I'm going to wear my glasses just to make me look a little bit more intelligent. Can I tell you something about that?
Go on.
I once dated a guy that was a chief executive of one of the scientific companies there.
Just before you start, I just want to remind you that the only things that we can get in trouble for are slander and libel.
Yeah, I'm not naming and shaming anyone.
Well, hallelujah, brother.
They had contracts for satellites and stuff, and the amount of information that I just did not know about was incredible.
Really?
It was fascinating.
So what happened?
I dumped him.
Did ChatGPT tell you to dump him?
It was many years before ChatGPT existed.
Giselle has been getting therapy and relationship advice from ChatGPT.
I have actually. I use it now to help me with advice on life. I'm always into personal growth and everything, and it is amazing for that.
So when they start the AI growth zone in Cullum and it's not functioning properly because all of the data is going to one house on Lady Grove, it's going to be Giselle's. We've had quite a lot of interaction from quite a lot of people in Didcot recently, and I went and saw a friend of mine called Veronica Reynolds who works at Milton Park. She's the sustainability manager at Milton Park.
Okay.
And oh my God, what she doesn't know about what's going on around Didcot isn't worth knowing. So,
I love these contacts. Yeah. They're so useful.
And I didn't know there was so much going on there. I've got to be honest with you, right? It was fascinating meeting Veronica, actually. She's a mine of information, but I then got into looking at the powerhouse and what it does. I mean, I didn't know that much about it.
It's a fantastic charity.
It's amazing. Yeah, they've raised £400,000 in the last 4 years. But what I like about it, in fact, the thing that we're going to is where they're going to tell us who gets the grants for this year. Yeah, and this year's brief for who gets the grants is people who need it most, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm going to go to on Tuesday, I'm taking my son actually, is called the Social Series. And they've got two speakers there. One's called Adrian Mancuso, and he's from Diamond Light Source, and Mike Lawson from Ox Dynamics. Now, I'm going up there because, A, I'm quite interested in it, but also I'm going to try and see if I can sort out an interview with either of those guys to talk about Diamond Light Source and Ox Dynamics. So please tell everybody to get involved in the podcast, and I can go to more of these things.
You're basically just trying to get yourself a free lunch.
It'd be really cool to speak to someone who really does know about it. And what we'll do is we'll put a bit in the podcast, but also we'll make a separate podcast just talking to those guys. Giselle?
Yeah?
Guess what?
What?
It's the best bit of the podcast.
Oh, no.
You know I love the village news.
You love the village roundup.
And this week, I think this could be the best village news I've ever done because
you
weren't
say that
involved
every
in
week.
it.
You're like a comedian when they get in front of the audience and say, this is the best audience ever.
No, this really is. Go on, just look. I've done this something, look, just so everybody knows, right? Giselle's rubbish at the village news. She doesn't even like it. But I love the village news. Why do you hate village news so much? You just hate it when I do it because it's so good.
I don't hate the village news. I love the village news. I love the villages, especially because I go to them all the time for lovely walks.
What are you going to do this time? You're going to throw villages at me like you did a few weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. That was quite fun. All right.
Fire away. Give me a. Say Harwell.
Okay. No, I'm not going to say Harwell. I'm not doing what you say. I'll give you a different one. Sutton Courtenay.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Giselle, you're not going to need to ask ChatGPT for advice anymore, because at the Abbey in Sutton Courtenay, they are having the Women's Wellness Deep Rest and Relaxation Evening.
When's that?
That is on Wednesday, the 30th of April at 7 p.m. This sounds amazing, actually. Join us in the 13th century abbey, nestled in the picturesque village of Sutton Courtenay. The incredible Great Hall will be illuminated with candles and fairy lights, and we'll have a huge roaring fire in the background to keep us warm and cosy.
Beautiful.
You'll like this bit. We'll infuse the air with lavender, lang-lang, and rosemary essential oils. Then we'll gather together with blankets, duvets, pillows, eye masks, and hopefully some rope.
No, it
doesn't
doesn't
say that. It doesn't say that. For an evening of profound rest and relaxation. That's right up your cup of tea.
Do you know what? I used to think stuff like that was just way too hippie for me. But as I've got more mature, I now see the benefits of stuff like this. Like, it really does help your brain. It really does help your mental health.
Stay connected, stay curious. Talk to us about literally anything.
What's next? Go on, say Chelsea.
East Hagborn.
Okay, East
Lovely
Hagborn.
village.
Okay, I've got a really good one for East Hagborn Community Shop. Now, I was looking at this last night. I'll tell you what, you want to see the stuff they make in that place. Every Thursday, it says, our talented team of bakers whip up a delectable array of scrumptious cakes. Now, I've seen those cakes, and they look amazing. Now, I'm in Wallingford. I will happily drive to East Hagborn on a Thursday morning to buy some of their cakes and bread. I've got to say, it does say you need to move fast because these beauties go quick. Basically, what we do is Thursday morning, we go to East Hagborn, we pick up the scrumptious array of cakes, and then we go to Sutton Courtenay to the Abbey, and we wrap ourselves up in blankets, duvets, pillows, eye masks, and have some profound rest in front of the fire.
Oh, no. The worst image ever. Okay, I'm going to give you a tricky one.
Go on. Chelsea?
Elm.
Well, you think you catch me out with that one, but actually I know UM really well. I go there quite a lot, and I eat in a lovely pub called the Shepherd's Hut, which is fantastic. But UM, I bet you don't know what UM's famous for, world famous for.
I don't.
Do you not? It's famous for its watercress beds.
Oh, I love watercress.
Do you?
Watercress and potato soup is one of the best things ever.
UM is the watercress centre of the planet.
I never knew that.
I kid you not, yeah. Friends of the ULM Watercress Beds is holding an annual general meeting on Monday the 7th of April at 7:30 at the Visitor Centre. They've got a Visitor Centre.
Hang on a minute, the watercress has got friends. That's more funny.
It has, yeah. Well, the Watercress Beds have got friends, yeah. But it does say, come along anyway, even if you're not a member. Membership fee's just £5. Next.
Let's go with Chelsea.
Chelsea, easy, right, okay. The Chelsea volunteers can deliver a lovely 2-course meal cooked by the wonderful team at Chelsea Day Centre for a small charge of £5 a day, which I thought was really sweet. So I had a look at the Chelsea volunteers, and they're an amazing group of people who are just in the village trying to help people in the village, which sort of restored my faith in humanity. When you see what they're up to, they're raising money and they're doing all kinds of stuff there, but big up for the Chelsea volunteers.
Do you know what I love about that? When my dad was really poorly and he lived in Kidlington, I'm in Didcot, obviously.
The Chelsea volunteers go all the way to Kidlington?
No, but my point is that he wasn't able to cook for himself, and we didn't have like a hospital service or anything like that helping at the time. Those services are so crucial.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 52 and I can't cook for myself.
Stay connected, stay curious. Talk to us about literally anything.
Do you want to do one now then, Giselle?
Sure.
Do I get to pick a village?
Sure.
You've only got about 2 villages.
Go on and give me a village.
How many villages have you got?
None.
Oh.
I've got a Didcot event. I have got one in one of my favourite villages. Can you guess what it is?
You've actually done something?
Yeah, I found something out. Harwell's having a charity spring fair. It's on Sunday the 6th of April. It's 11 till 4 at Harwell Village Hall. It's going to have loads of stuff.
Nice.
Okay, I've done my bit. I'm going to give you another one now.
Say Benson.
Okay, Benson.
Benson Military Wives Choir. They're looking for people to come and sing in their choir at RAF Benson. So if you fancy doing that, and you fancy they're like, if you think you can sing, just come and have a go. It says, join us every Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. inside the station church on RAF Benson. By the way, Oxford Mail, I didn't realise these people still existed. They are looking for people aged 13 plus to deliver newspapers within walking distance of their own homes, Monday to Saturday by 9 a.m. We are urgently looking for deliverers in Benson.
I remember when I was 14 years old, I went out to get a job because my mum was very poor, and I got a paper round. I got paid £9 a week to get up at 4 a.m. every single day and deliver 42 papers up 2 different very steep hills. And I look back and I think about that now. Imagine sending a child out at the age of 14 in the dark every morning in the freezing cold. It was so cold, with a heavy paper bag on their shoulder. I wanted some violins there, by the way. Can you get me some effects?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing the world's smallest violin at the moment. Anyway, there you go. Paperboy, contact. It's on the Benson Facebook page. It's the 25th anniversary of Abingdon Air and Country Show. It's Saturday the 14th of June. You've got plenty of time to plan.
That's my birthday, Charlie.
Is it? Let's go. Let's go. That's got a load of stuff on. I really could see myself going to this. It's got live music. It's got classic vehicles, steam engines, small air display. Oh, my God. They've got tank rides.
Oh, that is cool. My son would love that. I would love that.
Static aircraft, dog show, refreshments bar, and more. You can't have any more. Do you remember we talked about the quiz and curry night in Blueberry?
Yeah.
How much money do you reckon they raised?
That's hard to say. A couple of hundred?
No, £2,154.
Wow.
That's amazing, isn't it? I tell you what, I think that would be a really good night. Giselle, while we're in Blueberry, can I just give a bit of a shameless plug out for the Red Lion?
That's allowed.
My sister works down there. They have so many events down there. Like on a Thursday, they have a street food vendor, and
Love
then they
street
have
food.
and then they have live music as well. So that's always a really good night. But they have a lot of stuff on. They have a thing like an open mic night, you know, when they just have a microphone there and anyone can go and say or sing or do whatever they want.
Are you going to sing?
No. They have a thing that they like to call paddock night, which is sort of like where they have lots of cars and motorbikes and stuff go down there. They show all the sporting events on TV. They have darts nights, all that sort of stuff, and the food's amazing.
Have you ever thought about being a dream boy?
I thought I was already. Am I not? What are you trying to say?
There's a charity ladies' night in Didcot. It looks so fun. They've just put in some extra tickets on sale for it, but it's on Saturday, the 5th of April. Charity ladies' night. They've got drag queen, dream boys, charity raffle, disco. I've never been to one, but I can imagine it will be a laugh.
There's an interesting thing going on in Wallingford Town Council. They're looking to put together a youth council. So if you're aged 15 to 18, you can have your say in 2025, which means you can plan projects, learn skills and have fun. Feel like joining? Download the application form here, which is on the Wallingford Piper site. I've got a 15 to 18-year-old son, and I think I'd probably have to put him in a headlock to get him to join the youth council, but I might try. You never know. Giselle?
Yeah?
Guess what?
What?
Guess who we've been followed by?
Who?
The Dukes. Ever heard of the Dukes? The
Of
Dukes
Hazard?
are also known as the Didcot Ukuleles. They followed us on our Facebook group.
They're
and,
quite cool now.
I'm going to give them a big plug. It says here, we're a local friendly ukulele group. We meet every week to learn covers of pop, rock and folk songs.
When you were at school, did you ever get the opportunity to learn the ukulele?
Never went to school.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think this might particularly appeal to you because I know how you feel about this subject. I know you're very, very interested in it. I'm not sure you didn't used to compete in it, but it's the
What is this?
Superstars of Wrestling. Didcot.
Oh, my God, yes.
Didn't you used to wrestle?
Never.
Are you sure?
No, I'm too
What's
much
that
of a wuss.
leotard?
That was for gymnastics, not wrestling.
Oh, I thought you were a wrestler. Sorry. Anyway, the Superstars of Wrestling are in Didcot in the Civic Hall on Saturday, the 29th of March. I thought that would be quite cool. Are you sure you're not involved in that?
No, I am not doing wrestling.
Well, Giselle, I've exhausted all my village news. I am now an empty shell. That's been a bonanza of stuff going on in and around Didcot and beyond, as we like to say on the old podcast. Like you said earlier on, Giselle, big shout out to all the Facebook groups and the admins on the Facebook groups because they've been fantastic and we're getting a really good reaction to it now. So if you want to get involved, or you got something to say, or you want to shout at Giselle because she said something offensive, you just need to,
me.
Yeah.
Offensive.
You just need to contact us.
Kettle.
We're mainly on Facebook on the Didcot Podcast, but you can also email us at the Didcot podcast@gmail.com.
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that's already got in touch with us. We are going through all your messages and emails as we speak. There has been quite a lot, so please bear with us. And that's a wrap for the Didcot podcast. We'll be back again next week. Bye.
See you next week, Giz. Bye.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of the Didcot podcast. Talk to us about literally anything. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, or drop us an email at thedidcotpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected, stay curious, and we'll see you soon on the Didcot Podcast with Charlie and Giselle.